Hello everyone, and welcome to round 12 of Grand Prix Malmo. This is Nate Price here in the booth with the incomparable Rich Hagen.
Hello.
We are doing Avison Restored Draft today, and we are watching Pro Tour Philadelphia champion Samuel Estratti against Benjamin Paulmaier.
Benjamin Paulmaier was undefeated overnight and still seems to be doing fine. I believe Estratti's 1-1 today.
I believe that is correct.
So we see an abundant growth.
This is not the first time we've seen that in our video feature match today. Nico Boni's very interesting four-color deck played an entire quartet of the card, making his mana, as Frank Karsten put it, better than a lot of other 2- or 3-color decks in the format can have. And this is from a mana base that was something along the lines of 10, 4, 3, 1, I believe, or something like that.
So, Angelic Wall Trusted Force Mage underway.
Understandably, Estratti chooses not to pair up his Force Mage with his Angelic Wall.
Shocker. Why wouldn't you want a 1/5 flying defender?
I mean, it does kill both of the Geist that you were talking about earlier, should it choose to block, and a lot of 1-toughness creatures, but let's be honest, oh my goodness.
That'll be an Angel of Jubilation, I do believe, with a triple white requirement.
It's very rare that you see that card hit the table on turn 4 because of that heavy white requirement.
Absolutely. So that means the Trusted Force Mage gets +1/+1 because all other non-black creatures do that you control. Also plays Can't Pay Life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. Currently, that makes precisely no difference at all.
But
to Ben Paulmaier. Since
Paulmaier is playing black, the fact that he might have Bone Splinters in his deck could end up hurting him.
So Estratti will pile on in.
It's a fairly rapid start for him. Having the Force Mage, which is a 4/4 now, thanks to both its own Soulbond ability and the Angel's enhancement, plus having that monstrous 4/4 flyer, it's a pretty quick clock to put Paulmaier on. In fact, as it stands right now, if he doesn't get a flying blocker or a way to remove that Angel, he's dead in just a mere 2 turns.
Both these players are at 10-1 coming into round 12 here. So Estratti 2-0 in the draft, and Paulmaier 1-1, because again you play within your pairs and in your pods of 8.
Estratti's been an interesting guy to watch this weekend. I didn't know too much about him other than his Pro Tour win, but having seen him play as much as I have this weekend, he seems like he's very, very skilled. He's a very good player and very thoughtful. It's been a joy to watch.
So the Corpse Traders could be pretty good for Paulmaier as he adds more to the board. We've got a Crypt Keeper down on the left there.
The downside is you can't sacrifice creatures that they cost. Is it spells or abilities, or is it simply spells on the Angel?
Let's just have a quick check on the wording. That will be can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. Corpse Traders, 2 black, sacrifice a creature, : that'll be how to activate an ability. So there will be no target opponent revealing his or her hand and choosing a card from it and making them discard a card. Not happening.
Is that a Crypt Creeper he has in his hand right there as well?
It is. So it's Crypt Creeper down at the bottom, isn't it?
Another creature that has a sacrifice ability as part of its cost.
Yep.
So just a couple of turns ago, you were correct in saying that Estratti's Angel wasn't having an immediate impact on Paulmaier.
But now it's affecting everything.
And it would be very good for him in this situation, especially considering he's facing down that amount of damage to be able to do a little bit of life switcheroo with that Blood Artist.
3 Blood Artists in Paulmaier's deck. Now, multiples of those I can get behind. I can see how that commits proper carnage.
It's interesting because it's one of those cards where there's definitely a critical mass where, like, 3 may actually be too many, because for every one of those that you're playing, like, it directly impacts the board. I mean, sorry, it doesn't directly impact the board, but it will have, like, a longer term effect because you have, like, the trading of creatures going on. The downside is when you've got 3 of them in your deck, that's 3 slots that would normally be taken up by creatures. So for every additional one you add, you have to subtract a creature that would be able to you know, cause the trade.
Now here's a question. Do you, in an ideal world, therefore, when you're building your deck in this archetype, do you think of the Blood Artist not as a creature, but functionally almost as a life-gaining or a blood-sucking enchantment that happens to have a minimal power and toughness? So do you put it in a non-creature slot?
I think that you have to at least consider a couple of the copies in creature slots. But you're right, it does fill that dual purpose where it's more or less an enchantment.
It's sort of a vigilante justice type of card in a sense, because you don't really want to be rocking with it, you're certainly not attacking with it. Oh, hello! Bang! That'll be a big, fat, shiny rare in the form of Harvester of Souls. It's 5/5, it's Death Touch, and whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Most of the time, you're going to. But Estratti comes up with Pathbreaker Worm, pairs it up. Hey, it's a 0/4 trampling ball. Yay, that flies.
Give me a little Rolling Stones action. Paulmaier's deck looks like it has a large amount of synergy. We've seen creatures that have, the Blood Artist combined with all of the creatures that have the sacrifice abilities combined with the card drawing that you get from Harvester of Souls. That's a pretty strong little combination, but it's completely neutered by the presence of that angel.
I mean, he is very close to being mono-black, although not in terms of mana. He's able to go 10/7 on his mana base, but there are only 4 green cards in his deck, and he is certainly functioning like a mono-black deck.
It's an excellent approach. I was listening earlier in the discussion you had with Jackie Lee when she was talking about, and there you see Paulmaier finds himself unable to win, giving Estratti the win. First game, I mean, you have to fairly account that to that turn 4 angel. It's rare to see it come down at that point, but the often overlooked second ability, the non-crusade ability, it was just absolutely devastating.
I don't know if Samuel Estratti can sing, he's Italian, so he might be able to, but if we ever remake Grease as a magic musical, I'm picking him.
Yeah. He's definitely a wonderful member of T-Birds.
Yeah.
And a pink lady.
I thought he might just be Danny, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, that's
if
definitely...
If he can sing, that's it.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I did actually ask several of the platinum level pros if we did Magic the Musical, would you do it? I was surprised at how readily people said yes.
It's funny, Paolo had the best response to that question that I've heard.
Paolo? Let's not incriminate the
that's no incrimination.
Guilty party.
He simply said, yeah, I would probably do it, but I wouldn't have to count it as a favor either.
Oh my, he's going to kill you for saying that. You know that, don't you?
He's already mad at me.
Is he?
I'm sorry, yeah.
What have you done? Did you beat him in draft?
No.
Did you win a game in the 2012-2013 season?
No.
Something he hasn't done?
No.
He went 0-3 yesterday in drop.
And see, here you are talking about having me not incriminate the Guilty Party.
It's my fault.
It is your fault. I wasn't going to mention that.
I said, when you go 0-3, would you come and do some coverage? He said, well, if I do, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. And then he came and said, I'm 0-3, it's your fault.
He's right.
I honestly, I was pretty certain it was his fault.
You're not the one playing the cards, right?
Well, which is almost certainly just as well.
Yeah. So
Samuel Estratti leads by 1-0. Estratti been around for a good while, and so many Italians have made it through today too here. They're really in the middle of an upsurge in the sort of global level that they're playing at right now. Certainly, when we watched Mario Pascoli take on John Finkel in the final of Kuala Lumpur 2008, that was a real surprise, and Italy really didn't have a lot of strength in depth. But right now, they kind of do. And Estratti made the top 16 of Pro Tour Dark Ascension in Honolulu, played in Grand Prix Turin, just down the road, or at least doesn't need a passport, and now here he is in round 12, and hopefully, from his point of view, well on the way to acing the first draft of the day and putting him in very, very strong shape for a Grand Prix top 8.
Estratti had an interesting keep there. It appeared to be a one-land Avacyn, or Skull of Avacyn opening hand. He did have that Abundant Growth in his hand, but it took his draw step to get him that second land of a forest. I wasn't sure if he was intending to just simply rely on the fact that he has a draw step. His deck does
and a scroll.
And a scroll. But he's playing more planes than he is forests. I guess it was running the numbers. Oh, is that a second scroll in his hand as well? Maybe that's why. Like having access to multiple cards that are able to help you cycle through your deck.
I do like Scroll of Avacyn very much.
I'm a fan. Like it's one of those cards. It reminds me like of Abundant Growth. You basically allow yourself to play with a smaller deck, and the downside is you're having that small amount of time commitments in order to set up the cycling.
This is Bauble. That was the kind of the poster child for the quote-unquote 56 card deck.
Exactly. And we see a couple of Crypt Creepers on Paulmaier's side, which just goes to show, I mean, his deck appears to just be incredibly powerful, have a lot of synergy, and it was completely shut down by that Angel in the first game. You'll notice this game, the mana, well, it could technically still work out, thanks to that Abundant Growth, if he had an opportunity to get the Angel down.
And now here we see Cathedral Sanctifier come down.
That has been incredibly good this weekend for Estratti.
Yeah.
Saw him gain an absurd amount of life. I think Frank said that he was playing double magic at one point yesterday, trying to reduce his opponent's zero while going up to 20, or 40 at some point.
40, yes. Going for the complete...
Oh, that's ironic. One of the 4 green cards that Paulmaier is playing is an Abundant Growth. That's fantastic.
To not fix my mana.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're going to play 7 forests, you don't need to fix your mana.
Oh, yeah.
But you might just as well go out and you get the card back for it. And as Jackie said, it's tough to find your 23rd card sometimes.
Yeah.
So anything that gets you deeper into the deck, well worth playing.
She made another excellent point, and this is something that came up in the tech coverage conversation with Andre Mueller. The fact that black is generally an underappreciated color in this format, very undervalued. Oh, and there we see it again. 4 lands in play, and that Angel
still got him to the 3 white he needed. Angel of Jubilation.
Would you believe the reason he played it at 4 lands both games is because he has a pair of them in his deck?
He has double Angel?
He has double Angel of Jubilation.
Oh, wow, okay. So Paulmaier's probably busy thinking, that's not nice.
Yeah.
But, well, I've got 2 of them.
That's interesting because his mana base clearly lends itself towards needing to have all that heavy white, which is why he's playing it, but he's got a very aggressive green side to his deck as well, with a pair of Wandering Wolves, a Trusted Force Mage, Champion of Lambholt, which again has double green in its casting cost. So I'm sure he probably would have enjoyed picking up at least an additional copy of Abundant Growth. And there you see another bomb white card from him.
Cathar's Crusade.
Yeah.
So from now on, any time a creature appears, the way it works is that you actually get to put the +1/+ counter on the creature that is arriving as well as the others. So it's a straight, every card in your hand, every creature in your hand functionally has +1/+1.
Which is incredibly impressive when you have a Champion of Lambholt in play as well.
Oh, that's just an absurd collection of nonsense once. Champion of Lambholt it's a very oddly worded card in that when you first look at it, it's like, so wait, what does this do? It's like right, yeah, and then right. At the pre-release, there were a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
Like, how can I don't quite understand what I'm doing with this. And I'm like, well, you're beating people with it. That's what you're doing.
Many cards that have had that unblockable effect before only apply to the card that it's printed on. It actually affects your entire army and makes it very, very powerful if you have some of the green soulbound cards that enhance power. Like Champion of Lambholt plus a Druid's familiar can get the game ended and over very quickly. Paulmaier has a Driver of the Dead, a Crypt Creeper, which he can no longer sacrifice at this point, and we may see something very good. Or, Paulmaier has dealt with the Angel of Jubilation with a Necrobite, which is a card I'm a big fan of, especially in like this specific green-black deck, because it's a deck that relies heavily on combat. I mean, I think you find a lot of decks in this format rely heavily on combat, and it reminds me of Wail of the Nim from Mirrodin, where it allows you to make combat incredibly one-sided for you. You get to regenerate your creature and also give it Death Touch. For him, that's wonderful because it frees up his ability to sacrifice his creatures to pay costs. Unfortunately, I don't think he knows that Estratti has a second copy in his deck at some point, so that could come into play. Estratti currently has a Farbog Explorer in play. I think that's the name of that card.
Farbog Explorer,
Yeah.
2/3 Swamp Walk.
And
Well, we say 2/3.
Yeah.
We don't mean that.
at this point, 4/5. And those counters are actual +1/+1 counters, not to be confused with Soul Bond at this point.
Indeed.
How have you liked that, by the way, so far? And especially in the previous match with the
Here it's neat that there were 4 sets,
Yeah.
and they were quite clear. It was a little awkward when I was like, okay, so we've just put 2 similarly coloured beads on a Trusted Force Mage and a Griff Vanguard, which are in fact both +1/+1.
Yeah.
Even though we're just showing that they're Soul Bond, and they're meant to know that it's +1/+1.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Alright, and that is is it Evernight Shade? Is that card? The Undying 2/2 pumps for a black?
Evernight is very, super intensive. It's just 1/1 to
It's
start
1/1?
with,
Okay.
so it's your classic 1/1 for 4.
Yeah. Oh my, Estratti is just blowing up out of the gates. Multiple 2-drops, the just Seer down there, and
It's not that I don't want Estratti to win, I don't have a view about that, but this is a shame really, because the deck of Paulmaier is really interesting, and has all kinds of fun stuff going on. You'd like to see the Blood Artists doing their thing, you'd like to see Corpse Traders sacrificing creatures to swap life over, you'd like to see Grave Exchange in action.
he's got the right cards. Yeah, he's got the right cards to make it work.
Yeah, and he's just not being allowed to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's interesting, talking to Rap Levy yesterday, he said one thing that he didn't like about this limited format is it seems like it has less synergy than other formats, which was very weird to hear somebody say that.
Really? Because that very much runs counter to the narrative that we've largely been hearing.
I agree. It's possible he was specifically talking about sealed deck, but it sounded like it was a blanket statement about limited in general.
Okay.
Which was interesting to me, especially because Paulmaier's deck is the perfect example of a deck that just has incredible amounts of synergy. I did an interview with Mark Rosewater about Soul Bond initially. Sorry, it was about flicker effects. We talked a lot about Soul Bond and talked about the existence of decks and so on, and the fact that you can build decks that have this incredibly synergistic nature to them. Downside is a lot of times it requires a lot to get the ball rolling, and if your opponent is able to put on enough early pressure, it's really difficult to get the triple Blood Artist, double Blood Flow Connoisseur, double Corpse Traders, double Crypt Creeper engine really rolling.
Estratti has an engine, it's called Cathar's Crusade.
And creatures. Can't forget the second part.
Yeah. And that vicious, vicious word, Swamp Walk.
Yes, that is a big deal, especially considering the fact that Paulmaier has used his Necrobite, which came out of the sideboard, which I guess makes sense when you're playing against Green White, which is another heavy combat-based deck.
Yep.
He's got a Grave Exchange, and he's actually got 2 more copies of that in his sideboard. I don't know if he'd bring in extras, because it seems like Estratti's deck is fairly, fast and strong, but at the same time...
And also, I'd be prepared to wager that when Estratti is required to sacrifice a creature, it won't be Farbog Explorer.
I can't possibly imagine why that would be the case.
Yeah, so that doesn't seem likely to happen.
At this point, the Undead Executioner that's in Paulmaier's deck is out of reach.
We're not saying it's actually over, but it's kind of looking very much like it.
It's certainly grim, but at the same time, you can't really count out the Blood Artist, because if you can get multiple Blood Artists in play, I mean, even simply trading in combat becomes a bad thing for Estratti. Like, every time that Paulmaier has to chump block, he saves himself the life he would have lost from the attacker, as well as causing a 4-point life swing. It's fairly massive.
So Paulmaier still trying to pile away. Is that a Howlgeist?
It is, and this is kind of one of those amazing situations for him, considering how large the creatures of Estratti are. But you'll notice, I mean, look at the life totals right now. Estratti's down to 9, and Paulmaier is still up at 16, despite the fact that Estratti has this massive army in front of him, both in terms of numbers and size. That Blood Artist is proving why he's such a high pick for players in black. I mean, was it Falconwrath Noble was the card? I mean, that card was easily a first pick quality card, and one of the cards that multiple people in the last tournament said like there are decks that just cannot beat this card.
Sure.
And there's even less solid removal in this format than there were in previous, especially against green-white.
Yep.
I mean, they've really got the Righteous Blow, and like that guy's attacking or blocking anytime soon.
Quite. Estratti, I guess, is trying to work out whether he can get his Farbog Explorer to the point where he can win in 2 hits, whether he can attack, get it to 8, attack, obviously it can't be blocked, then block in such a way on the backswing that he doesn't have to kill too much, or indeed anything.
He has a Banishing Stroke in his hand right now as well. I think he's seriously considering whether he wants to use it on the Howlgeist and just take advantage of the fact that he can just sear away the Crypt Creeper and just start attacking for massive amounts of damage, which will over-race and not have to worry about the swing back, or if he wants to just take care of the Blood Artist right now and take advantage of the fact that his larger creatures are ultimately going to win him through.
Sure. Wow, that is a pass from Estratti. So we go back to Benter and Paulmaier. Both of these players on 30 points. Only one player is left undefeated at the moment, and that is Matteo Versari of Italy. He's playing against Perez Limos Montal of Spain at 10-1 here in round 12.
If I'm not mistaken, Versari is actually in a wheelchair this weekend as well, which means it's unfortunate because I don't think we'll be able to get him on camera at any point because it's difficult to maneuver into the feature match area.
Wow.
Oh, there's a second Blood Artist. That is a dagger.
That could be huge.
It's actually a very good thing that Estratti didn't just decide to Banishing Stroke the first Blood Artist and then start attacking, because this second Blood Artist would have completely blindsided him.
So there you see a modern champion from Philadelphia.
Estratti has his head in his hand. It's interesting now because Paulmaier puts into a double whammy where Paulmaier gets to be the one who aggressively starts attacking, because Estratti would love to block and get rid of the creatures, which clearly he can. It's favorable for him because his creatures are just larger, but every creature that dies is a 4-point life swing. 2 of his creatures have been dying, so
we're going to see Banishing Stroke for one of the Blood Artists.
That is going to stem the damage. And at this point, it still is. We'll drop Estratti down to 7, put Paulmaier up to 18. The Howlgeist will come back.
Because sometimes they come back.
They do. Howlgeist is a spirit, correct?
Sounds about right. I imagine it is. Spirit Wolf. I suppose the clue was in the name, really.
True. Very, very true. Paulmaier takes advantage of the fact that he still currently has 2 Blood Artists in play to sacrifice his Crypt Creeper and remove something inconsequential at this point. So that's a 4-point swing, dropping Estratti down to 5 and putting Paulmaier up to 20, I believe.
So, send away.
Those 2 will die, dropping him down yet again.
There's the Howlgeist coming back. Drive of the Dead dies. That brings Crypt Creeper back.
I'm sorry. I'm doubling my math and I shouldn't be.
It's never double math. That's very wrong.
Yeah.
Wait, aren't you trained to be a doctor?
Yeah, I don't teach you math so much.
Oh. Here, have a pill. Hey, double math. Have 2.
That makes a lot of people happy.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Unfortunately, they find malpractice insurance people incredibly displeased.
Pathbreaker Worm for Estratti, who's down to 5. against the 20 life for Ben Paulmaier.
But Trample is a pretty big game here as well, considering his creatures are large. And he does have the ability. It's going to be difficult for him to force himself into that situation, but he does have the ability to sculpt attacks well with that Justice here. If he can basically remove 2 creatures from Paulmaier's side. His creatures are large enough now that Paulmaier, I don't think he can continue that aggressive stance that he was taking previously. I think he's going to sit back and have to play defense.
Well, the thing is though, if he... Estratti at 5...
Yeah.
How many...
Because
you can't... The thing is... It's just so difficult, isn't it, for Paulmaier? He's on 20, he can see the finish line in sight, he's got a Blood Artist in play. What he wants is the second Blood Artist, and then an Alpha.
Exactly.
And then make you kill my guys.
The good thing is, this Blood Artist does trigger on itself, so, I mean, he has... Let's take a look at Paulmaier's deck right now.
In comes Farbog Explorer, it's got 5 counters on, so, you know, just the 7 unblockable damage this turn.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah. So Paulmaier, I reckon that'll put him to 13. It does. There
are actually a number of cards that Paulmaier has here to just simply end the game. I mean, if he gets a... Oh, wow.
And he is going to send... How? That's going to pair up. Oh! Bang! Good game.
What was that card he just played? It looked like it was a Wolfir Silverheart, but I don't think it was a Wolfir Silverheart.
Can we just get to check what that last card was? Has he misregistered?
It's possible. It definitely appeared to be a Silverheart.
That was a Wolfir Silverheart. He has a Wolfir Avenger on his list, not a Wolfir Silverheart. We need to call a judge, I do believe. Because he's just played a card that is not in his deck list.
Well, that's interesting.
So,
ironically, I think
there is a judge just over there. Go and talk to a judge, Nate Bryce.
I'll be right.
I'll stay here and sing. No, don't worry. Don't turn off your monitors. We'll deal with that. But it does look to us decidedly as if he's just played a Wolfir Silverheart, which, you know, would be quite good. That is not on his deck list. He has a Wolfir Avenger on there. Just checking one more time from our tech. There are only 2 Wolfir that he could have played, and our tech man Dave says that Wolfir Silverheart, we heard from the table, is what just got played. Wow, that's potentially very awkward. Ben Paulmaier, you've just won a game with a card that apparently isn't on your deck list. So, I can see the head judge Jürgen Bert from Belgium having a discussion, trying to work out what happens next with that. We do seem to be getting a few complicated calls here and there, don't we, over the last few Grand Prix. Had some entertainment at Grand Prix Indianapolis with a meditate that didn't involve skipping a turn, and so on. Nate, welcome back. What was the gist of that?
Well, according to the head judge, under normal circumstances, what they do in a situation like this is a player is reported as having played a card that is not in their registered deck list, is to have a deck check in the next round. Unfortunately, with this being the last round of this draft, that's not an option. So this game that is being played right now is most likely going to be either stopped or he might allow it to continue, but it will be a mid-round deck check, and after Paulmaier's deck, it's a game loss.
It's highly possible that there'll be a straight game loss.
From what I was told, it is almost a certainty at this point.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
Oh.
And the ironic thing is that even if it was a Wolfir Avenger, I mean, the Silverheart is clearly way better, but a Wolfir Avenger that last game still wins in the game in the exact same...
Does it? I mean, he hasn't... yeah, so... Oh boy.
That is very
The
unfortunate.
thing is, you're so super excited to have a Wolfir Silverheart, right?
Yes.
It's like, why would you pretend it was something else?
I was actually, yeah, I mean, I was specifically asked last night what card I would want to open more than anything else.
Sure.
And it's either that or Jedi Navigator, because then you get to have fun pick. They're playing Magic.
They're playing Magic. Whether it's a Magic game that's actually counting, we're not sure.
But we can still tell you what goes on. Magic is still Magic.
Okay, that's true. So we've got Blood Artist and Crypt Keeper on the right-hand side of the table for the possibly in trouble Ben Paulmaier. Up against Trusted Force Mage, you see, there's a screw.
That might be our mid-round deck check as it is right there, so this could be a problem.
In the background you can see a judge taking a look at the remainder of Paulmaier's deck. So Paulmaier still has his hand in front of him, you see him looking at it there. In the background, let's see. So yes, we need to have a conversation with you. Magic's still magic. We did tell them what was happening. There was a Cathedral Sanctifier for Estratti. You see, he's such a lovely guy. He's like, I saw a judge. I thought, was it me? What?
Yeah.
And again, just to be clear, no one's suggesting that Paulmaier's done anything wrong intentionally.
No.
This is just as simple as looking at a deck list and going, ah.
They're right next to each other on the deck registration form too, and like this is definitely, I mean, it's a mistake that I think everybody makes at some point.
It's the 6mm mistake.
Exactly, and
but
it's unfortunate when it happens.
It begins with a lot of the same letters.
Yes.
You know? And it turns out 30 minutes isn't always, depending on how, and it's a pretty tough format to build in. There were quite a lot of people still building down the back end of the 30 minutes for deck building. Sometimes you see everyone in 15 minutes, there's 8 slow coaches, but 120 are done, and going, can we start the round? This wasn't like that. You see Paulmaier coming back in. Oh, I'm shaking your hand.
And Estratti is very confused. He has no idea either. And the thing is, I'm sure we'll be told, because I mean, all of the cards at the Grand Prix for draft are stamped to, like, so we know whether cards were brought in.
So
or
it's
out,
not like you can randomly, oh, here's one of my pre-release Wolfir Silverheart.
Exactly. And so, like, it was just this is most likely, as you put it, the 6mm mistake, and that's very unfortunate. Like, it's got to feel so bad too, because you're doing well, and I mean, you clearly cruised through yesterday.
9-0.
You picked up 1 loss today in this round.
So you're 1-1. You're playing against a Pro Tour champion. You've just won Game 2 with a Wolfir Silverheart
against a seemingly like unbeatable board position.
Sure.